We can also use the gradient tool to create custom gradients. And like I said, we're not limited to just doing something from the yellow to the blue. First thing I'm going to do is get this back into normal mode and have my opacity at 100% where I expect to see it. And I'll explain this in just a second. But when you want to do a custom gradient, instead of clicking on the drop-down box, we need to click on, just get away from it, the swatch itself. So mine should be showing yellow to blue right here. I'll explain why in a minute. But click on the swatch itself. There we go. I'll just say okay. Now this is how yours looks. Click on the swatch itself right here, the color bar. And what we do get is the gradient editor. And again, all the presets are here, but we want to make something of our own. So there are a couple things to note here. We're going to choose the solid gradient type, and we're going to keep the smoothness at 100% to have this gentle transition. So right now our two color stops are yellow and blue, our foreground and our background. So we can click anywhere below this line to add another color stop. And when we do, we get a little color picker here and it shows up below. So if we wanted this middle point to be a red, we could select a red color. Now we can see we're going from our foreground of yellow to a red, and then from a red to a blue. The little triangles in between are the midpoint of where the transition should start. So if you drag this over, it's saying you need to stay red for longer and start your transitioning right in here. Or you need to stay blue for longer and have your transition in this area. It's set at the halfway point, or 50% by default. You can always see that number right down here as well. Same thing over on this side. If we activate this color stop, here's our midpoint, and we can change the location of that midpoint as well. We can add another color if we choose. So again, we would click on the color swatch, choose a different color, and now we have a green. If you want to remove a color, you simply click on it and drag down away from the bar, and then it goes away. So if you want to remove them, you do that. You want to add something, you click, you choose the color, and there's your additional point. And then of course you can move it also. So here's smoothness set at 100. If we want to see how that behaves differently, we're just seeing a little bit of a change in how the colors transition here. We don't see a big difference. Another thing of note are on the top side of this, we have transparency stops. So if we were to click on the top of this, we're adding a transparency stop right here, meaning we're going from yellow to completely transparent. You could see what's underneath it if this was in a layer stack. And then from transparent all the way gradient back to blue. So if you had a photograph in a layer underneath this and you wanted just a little yellow on the bottom and, oops, didn't mean to do that, drag it away, and a little blue on the top, I'm just pushing these points out a little bit further. Everything in this midsection, I'm going to pull that green out of there, everything in this midsection is going to be transparent. So your transparency stops are above and your color stops are below, and you can just click and drag up to get rid of them. So this is the solid gradient, the one that I would guess you would use most often, but there's also a noise gradient, and this is kind of different because it's randomly generated. So the colors that were generated here are very random, and again, our roughness, we can have it very smooth or we can have it very rough or anywhere in between. If you want to restrict some of your colors, if you take this slider and say, you know, I only really want the vibrant reds, it's only going to use colors that fall in between these two color stops of red. Same with if you were to slide the green over or the blue over. So you can also tweak kind of your lightness. If you want a lot of dark colors in it, the black end or the white end. If you limit it to just the bright end, you're obviously getting some brighter colors here. The restrict colors option, if you click on that, That's just going to randomly take out some colors and restrict them. And it's just a matter of restricting some of the saturation very randomly. I'm going to undo that one as well. And the transparency will randomly add transparency. The nice thing about this is it's completely random. If you don't like it, you click the randomize and it just keeps giving you a wide variety of noise color models. And if you like it smoother or harsher, that's up to you as well. And if you were happy with that, you would say okay, and now your gradient cursor can put that crazy noise gradient, woo, right in. And I'm in, I forgot which mode I was in. That's kind of cool. Diamond gradient. I want to go back to the gradient tool and I want to go back to the custom gradient. So if we click on this bar again, I'm going to switch it back to a solid and yellow, and I'm going to add a color here just for fun. I'm going to make it truly custom. If I love this and I want to save this, I can do that. I can click on this new icon right here. That's going to add it to my swatch panel on this computer. If for some reason I wanted to save this, maybe in my cloud, or send it to someone that they could load on their computer, I would have to export it, and it would be saved as a .grd file. It's a gradient file. If you were to send that to somebody else, they would come into this dialog box and choose import, and then they would go to their download folder, they would find that .grd file that you sent them, and they could import it into theirs as well. So you also have a chance to name it. Brenda's Fun, I don't know, that's a bad name, but whatever. And now when I come up to my gradient panel, oops, I didn't mean to click that one, cancel, I meant to do the drop down box. I see all of the standards plus the 3 that I've just been working on. I just made this one during the course of this tutorial. So that's how you can make a custom gradient.